Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, it's another week of CinemAddicts. This is episode number 203 of CinemAddicts. I'm Greg Srzavasti. I have been doing... Eric Holmes, how long have I been interviewing people, reviewing movies? Do you remember? You
At least 69 years.
69 years. That is wrong, Eric. Beep, beep. I'm now evil Greg. I'm just getting to the point. I'm really mean. Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky are really nice. I'm going to give you one more guess, Eric Holmes. Tell me the year I started doing this. Shebang and Sheboygan.
69.
Okay. Strike two. Don't make it a strike three, Bruce. Why don't you guess what year I started as a film critic, quote unquote, and reviewer, interviewer? When did I start? What year?
I'm going to have to flip them around, so I'll make it 1996. How's that?
Okay, strike three. You guys are totally out. That is Bruce Perky. I'm joined by my betters again, Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky for CinemAddicts episode 203. The answer to this question that no one cares about, including myself, I just wanted to make up a question, is I started 1991 UCLA Daily Bruin as a movie critic, as a reviewer, and an interviewer. So evil Greg is, look, I'm going to give myself credit. I'm now evil Greg. I used to be good Greg. 32, what is it? What, Bruce Perky, you're good with the math. Has it been 32, almost 33 years since I've been good? Since 91, right?
Yep, time for the evil to come out. Bring out the evil.
Eric Holmes, do you think I have enough liberty after 33 years to finally become the bad guy when it comes to reviewing movies? What do you think, Eric Holmes?
I think it's been a long time coming. You've been holding it down long enough. Time to let your evil flag fly.
Okay, evil flag fly. We'll see how evil I am with our featured reviews this week for episode 203. That is Deadshot and Rebirth. If you hear a little bit of ambient noise, that is probably the person, my gardener, who is, he's not my gardener. He's a gardener of the block. You might hear some lawnmower. He's like the lawnmower man, like Jeff Fahey, lawnmower man. Do you like that, Eric Holmes? You like that reference?
It's like a sequel to last week when Bruce was giving us the thunderstorm ambiance. And then who knows, maybe next week I'll get like car crashes or honking horns outside. We'll see what happens.
Do you ever get that? You look, 3-4 years of doing this with you, Eric Holmes. Find your film, and Bruce, find your film in CinemAddicts. I've never heard honking cars and car crashes outside your window. Has that ever happened?
I usually hit the mute button when that happens. But since we're going with the whole ambiance thing, maybe I'll just let it in when it happens.
So it's in your neighborhood that happens on occasion, or?
Yeah, it's not a real busy street, but we're close to a busy street, so there's a lot of cars pulling in. And I don't know, people don't like their mufflers. I don't know why. I guess they want everyone to know how loud their car is.
Yes. Bruce Perky, you're not allowed to text people, including myself, with a YouTube link. What did you send me, Bruce Perky? Is that a secret YouTube link that is banned in the dark web? What did you send me? What's going on?
I had to send you Lords of Acid. Out Comes the Evil. From
there you go. I love that Lords of Acid. That is a great reference, Lords of Acid. I haven't heard of that group for a while. They used to have these really interesting album and CD covers, if I recall. I'm just recalling years ago. Am I correct on the Lords of Acid here?
Yes, Voodoo You. If you want a lot of naked devil women on there, yeah, sure. They have a very, very subtle song called "The Crab Louse," which is quite
subtle. Bruce Perky is going to say. Before we get into our features, Bruce, how have you been? Anything updates on your life? Because look, Eric brought the whole personal side like maybe several months ago, and I think as evil Greg, I think I'm going to be kind of good Greg. Maybe we bring a little bit of our personality into the projects, which I don't think we should. But why don't you tell me a little bit about your?
You gotta have a personality to bring it in.
Exactly.
Let's see. My boy just started college. First day was yesterday, so it's something.
What's a college? What's a college?
It's UAH, University of Alabama in Huntsville, and they are very well known for like aerospace and engineering, and they're right in the middle of. They're like, I don't know, 5 minutes away from the Space and Rocket Center, and they're in the middle of this research park, which is full of like Lockheed Martin and all that kind of stuff. But
how far is the commute? Is the commute okay?
He's going to stay in the dorms, so he doesnn't have to commute so far. Otherwise, it'd be about an hour each way. We don't want to have him do that.
Oh my gosh.
On movie news, for personal movie news, I have this little book, right? This is my journal that I keep my notes in for my
Okay,
movies.
and what are the stickers? You have middle class film class,
Middle
Force
class film
5,
class, Force 5,
Five.
Homophobia is gay. You know who that's from.
Okay, that's from
Mr. Anderson.
Anderson County.
But I
Yes.
just got to the last page. So here's a guess for you. What was the date of the first page of this?
Very good. What was the date? The exact date, as in like the day and the year or something?
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? Let me say
June 9th, 1969. That's 6969 for anyone not paying attention.
I'm going to say July 22nd, 2022. How about that?
You are a little late, but you're pretty close.
Okay.
So May 4th, 2022 was the first entry. The first movie in this book is The Innocents, the Eskil Vogt one from Scandinavia that we watched with those kids that were really interesting.
Really
and the
good
last
movie.
the last one's on today's show. So there you go.
What do you do with that book? You just write notes that you want to do for the review. Okay, and during the actual podcast, do you refer to the book sometimes or?
Yep, I have it open. I can look at that and I can say, what did I say? If there's anything I wanted to remember, or that's it. Yep.
I want to know, Eric Holmes. Since you and I are doing a lot of interviews, I was going to ask him the big question to Bruce Perky is: in your book of movie reviews and movie notes, is there a movie where there are no notes because it's so bad the page is blank? Or
no, sometimes they get more notes when they're really bad. I can go back and find a 1-star or a half-star one here, I'm sure, and get you some information. Maybe while we're talking and stuff, I'll
thumb around,
scan through it and look for something that's that low. And I'm sure I've got a couple in here that are pretty low. So
okay, your oldest son in college. You showed us the podcast movie book. That's some personal stuff from Bruce Perky. Personal stuff from you, Eric Holmes. I'm not going to share any personal stuff because, again, like Bruce says, you need a personality to actually have it. Share your inner life. I don't have one. But do you have an inner life, Eric Holmes? What have you been up to the last week?
I've just been running karaoke for Crazy Tony's Karaoke. Woohoo! And it's been really fun. Get to watch a bunch of people come up. You get a lot of people that's like, hey, you going to sing tonight? And they're like, no, I'm not that good. You don't want to hear me sing. And then after a few beers, I finally talk them into coming up, and then they kill it. Like 100% of the time that happens. So if you're thinking about going to karaoke and you think you're not going to be any good, why don't you surprise yourself and everyone else in the bar and sing some jams, and you're probably a lot better than you think you are.
Have you ever actually brought a ringer on stage, a ringer that you didn't know about, meaning someone you didn't think was going to be good, and they just belted out? Like you said, they're really good, turn out to be good singers, but did anyone just surprise you with how great their voice was?
Not really, because I just kind of assume everyone's going to be good. Like there's people like try to sound like the singer does, and it doesn't really work. But when I think the best advice I can give anyone sing, not just karaoke, but just singing in general, try to do it in your own voice. Because like there's this one guy, like he's what you would call a air quote bad singer, but I actually really liked him because he had kind of his own style to it. He didn't sing it like it was on the record. He sings it in his own style, and it totally works.
Speaking of own style, totally works. Our featured reviews are 2 movies this week. We have Deadshot and Birth Rebirth. But again, Birth Rebirth is the second movie. The first movie is Deadshot. But first, I want to get to Eric Holmes. Just a very quick aside. Something that you've actually been obsessed over. I think, well, maybe I'm putting words into your mouth, which I am, the last couple of weeks. Can you just talk about your whole fascination with, it's not alienation. It's not enemy planet, right? Wait, what is it? What is it called? Enemy mine.
Oh,
it's not none of this. It's Alien Planet. What is it? What is it about Alien Planet that you love? Where can people find it? You alluded to it, I believe, last episode. I'm about 30 minutes into it on Tubi, and I apologize to director Alan Maxon for not actually finishing it yet. But what can people expect from this movie, and why are you so into it? Because you actually talked about a whole spoiler section. Tell us, listeners, about it.
Yeah, it's just a really fun kind of low budget movie about 2 warring alien factions trying to get water, and they hate each other, but then they find a common enemy and they have to work together. Similar to Enemy Mine. This one's got like it's really, really low budget, but like talking with Alan and Eric Prochnow about the making of it, it's really fascinating to see. Like you go back and like you listen to the interview and then you go back and watch it again. It's like, holy crap. It's amazing how much work they put into this and how seamless a lot of stuff is. That like there are certain scenes that as I'm watching the movie, I didn't realize how much went into that scene or that particular shot until after talking with Alan Maxon about it. It's like, holy crap, dude. You really went above and beyond with this. A lot of the really impressive scenes are like invisible scenes. Like you don't recognize the work put in it because you're not paying attention to that, which is kind of the point of, doing the certain effect, in that particular shot. And plus they're great guys. And I think we'll probably have Alan Maxon on again. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but I'll be happy to talk to him again because they're pretty fun to hang out with.
No, you're not going to have Alan Maxon on the show without the approval of Bruce Purkey. He's the boss of the show. Did you actually put in your papers?
I'm going to do a Zoom meeting with them and record it and then give it to you. And then whatever happens with that happens. But one thing is for sure, I'm definitely going to talk to them again because they're just good people, good company. And I like talking to them.
I'm bad evil Greg, and I'm gonna say I don't care if they're good people. Bruce Purkey, the boss, does Eric Holmes get clearance to interview Alan Maxon again? Does he?
No, you got the wrong Bruce. That's Springsteen is the boss. I am the butcher, not the boss.
You are the butcher.
He's the assistant manager.
The assistant manager is the boss.
Bruce, in all fairness, not like you have the time to do this, but if you are on Tubi, I would suggest just giving Alien Planet a little bit of a skim because you come from the practical effects world where you appreciate it as opposed to CGI driven stuff, which I'm sure you like too, but you like the tangible stuff. And I think, Eric, I think you can support this. If you like tangible VFX, I think Alien Planet, even if you don't completely love the movie, I think the way it's executed, I'm enjoying it so far, but I really love the special effects. I think, Bruce, you would get a kick out of Alien Planet so far from what I'm watching. And Eric Holmes actually recommends it. Currently streaming on Tubi. Bruce Purkey is not rich. Eric Holmes is not rich. I'm not rich, but I don't know if I can drum up $20. I might even buy the Blu-ray because I think
I'm definitely doing that because the Blu-ray, because they didn't have a big budget, and I don't know how much money they're making on it now that it's out. But if you buy the Blu-ray, that most supports the filmmakers behind it. So that's the way I go. But if you don't buy Blu-rays or whatever, streaming, rent it, streaming on Amazon or wherever it's streaming at. Yeah,
streaming on Tubi right now, and I maybe streaming on Amazon down the road. We're going to put the Just Watch link for Alien Planet. Really interested in actually promoting this really so far wonderful movie from what I'm seeing it. But Eric Holmes was actually the vanguard in this. He was 2 steps forward regarding covering Alien Planet. We'll leave all that promotion links.
And now let's take 3 steps back and get into the features.
Let's you know what we're going to do 4 more steps back before we get it. I'm evil Greg again. I'm going to actually say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Let's go to Deadshot. Deadshot. That's our review. 5-star film. I know rating. What's your rating, Bruce, on Deadshot, Eric? 5-star banger. Love this movie. Go see it in theaters, on demand, and digital, August 18th. Need I say more? I don't know. I don't want to say anymore because I've been talking a lot. Maybe Bruce and Eric do not agree. Maybe it's not a 5-star banger. This movie's directed by Tom Gard and Charles Gard. They are brothers, Eric Holmes, I'm assuming here.
Yep. Yeah. And the editor, let me get it. I think it's Ted. Mm-hmm. Ted Gard is the editor. So yeah.
Eric, this is a 91-minute film. I'm going to try my best to explain this. The genre is action, thriller, and drama. And it centers on, it's like 1970s London. And it starts off with this ex-Irish paramilitary named Michael, played by Colin Morgan. He's taking his wife to go to deliver the baby. His wife's in the back, and it looks like he's running from something. And this is not a spoiler because this is in the trailer. He's trying to take her to, I'm assuming, the hospital. They go down this road. It seemed this really narrow road. And unfortunately, there are people who are trying to stop him and trying to, stop him because he's a former ex-Irish paramilitary. One of these is a British sergeant played by, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Do you guys know how to pronounce his name? Ameen. And he's this sergeant named Tempest. And Tempest stops the car, and he's assuming that the passenger in the back is the bad guy, Michael, but actually it's Michael's wife, and he shoots the wife. The wife is dead. And the rest of the movie deals with Michael, obviously traumatized. He goes back into the fray with the criminal element. And the reason why he does that is because they have the information on who killed his wife. So it's sort of the lesser of, I don't know, the lesser of 2 evils. He's trying to actually join a career he doesn't want just so he can get more information on the man who killed his wife. Again, the man who killed his wife. I apologize on the pronunciation, Ameen. And that is really the rest of the movie. It's 91 minutes of just lean, mean thriller, revenge thriller, and it centers. I think it really balances both of their stories until they come to this is not a spoiler because it's inevitable, the inevitable showdown between the two. And that is Deadshot in theaters, on digital, and on demand, August 18th. Let's start with Eric Holmes regarding your thoughts on Deadshot.
I wasn't sure what to expect with this. I just based on the poster and the name, I thought this was going to be like just a regular action movie. And it does have the action elements, sort of, but this plays more like a British thriller. I'm trying to think of like a good comparison. Maybe like something like The Limey, maybe, or like the Firstborn movie. Not even the Firstborn movie, but it's got definitely a revenge thriller. What kind of threw me off was so Tempest is chasing down Michael, and I keep forgetting that Tempest is not the good guy here. And then I think more on
Michael's chasing down Tempest.
Oh yeah. Michael's
or you know what? You're actually kind of right because they're both kind of chasing each other.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
And so Michael's chasing Tempest, and I'm thinking that Tempest is a good guy, but I'm like, well, no, he shot Michael's wife who's pregnant. But then it's like none of the characters are like coming out of this smelling like roses, or they kind of almost a comment on just how revenge is never the way to go, because it just breeds more hate and more destruction. And if you want to look at it from that perspective, if you want to look at it from just a pure thriller point of view, it's really good at that too. Just kind of going around doing all these, like, we find out more about the characters, all the twists and turns and everything. I'm not quite sure what to say. I was kind of floored when I saw it. I saw that Bruce mentioned that I think Bruce was the first one of us to watch this and mention, oh dude, this is really good. And so I was like, oh, let's check it out, because for the podcast. And then I'm watching going, holy crap, this is not the movie at all I thought it was.
We have to also mention Felicity Jones. She plays the Irish handler of Michael's. And then on the British handler is played by Mark Strong. He's the one who actually gets Tempest into his fray of sort of special forces, special police work. And Tempest is forced into this line of work where he doesn't want to be there, and kind of Michael doesn't want to be there. The bottom line is both of them want to eliminate the other person so they can get this whole trauma supposedly behind them. Bruce, so cat's out of the bag. You were telling us how much you liked the movie. Did you more than like Deadshot? And then if you liked it more than you initially said, what made it outstanding for you, if that?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. And I kind of had a similar reaction watching the movie to Eric, and it being more than I expected. Although if it had just been what I expected and it was shot the way it was shot, it would have been a really good just revenge thriller. It would have been very well done for sure. And by the way, you were talking about trying to think of comparative movies or movies that kind of capture that feel. To me, I would say Munich. I think Munich is the best comparison to this. So I think what this movie does is special. So first of all, it's really lean. You talk about gritty a lot, and this movie is really that has that in spades. I mean, it has this kind of just gray, dangerous 70s Britain and Ireland, and it just really, I think it really just captures that very, very, very well. Also, I want to mention the score is really interesting. The score is kind of this weird electronic score, which could seem kind of dissonant to people. I really, really dug it. I think it gave it an interesting vibe as well. But what I think makes this movie really special, so really simple stakes, really understandable right out of the gate. You have the soldier who accidentally kills the other guy's wife, and the guy whose wife got killed wants to get revenge and kill the soldier who killed his wife. Simple. What both people want. And what the movie ends up really being about, and I think what's really interesting about this is it works a little more like something like All Quiet on the Western Front, or one of these movies where it's all about the, quote, peons, the soldiers, the people who are in the trenches, who are doing the killing and doing the dying, are really disposable and used by the powers that be. And in both situations, on the Irish side and the British side, you see how these two men, who really just want to live their lives and just do their job and not cause pain and destruction to other people and have no pain and destruction caused to themselves, are being kind of used as these tools. And I think it's kind of heavy-handed, but kind of not. There's a great little almost a throwaway shot in this movie where at one point one of our Irish characters goes into a British no Irish bar, and they had these signs up in those bars, and it says no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. And this is no accident that our two our two antagonists slash protagonists are an Irish man, white, and a British man, black. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this movie beyond the action elements, but the action elements are really great as well. So I think there's a lot to be found in this movie.
This also felt like it was shot in real time. Obviously, time passes by, but it just really feels immediate. And it's beautifully shot without calling attention to itself, which is a balancing act that's very hard to accomplish. I just thought this was pretty much a perfect movie. Final thoughts on Deadshot in theaters, on digital, and on demand. Yeah, I think just high marks for Tom Gard and Charles Gard for their work on this, written and directed by them. Also, they did a remake of A Tale of Two Sisters called The Uninvited from years back, and I really enjoyed that film. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Bruce, but I think you saw that, Eric. Did you see The Uninvited years ago, or did you just see that in preparation for the interview?
No, I thought that was another one where I just kind of pass it off. Again, I don't know who's doing their marketing. But the marketing doesn't seem to sell their movies with how good they are. But the Uninvited, I didn't know that was a remake of Tale of Two Sisters. It's got a similar story, different ending. So if you've seen A Tale of Two Sisters, this is kind of like a similar story, but different kind of take on it. And I really enjoyed that as well.
Oh, very, very cool. Okay, so Eric, what is your rating on Deadshot?
I probably give this 5 stars. It's a really good kind of revenge thriller. And it's got that little extra. So it's like if it didn't have that little extra, this would be like a, perfect like 4-star movie. But it kind of, and all the stuff Bruce mentioned, it kind of elevates it a little bit. They did the extra work to make it that much better.
Yeah, I have a feeling different kind of movies, but it's sort of if we're talking about British films, this movie kind of reminds me of the really gritty tone of that Mike Hodges film, Get Carter. Has a very, really interesting. And yeah, so there are a couple of similarities to Get Carter that I don't want to, if you've seen Get Carter, I don't want to just, show my hand on that, because that would be a spoiler, but it's really the bleak existential vision of Get Carter is here in Deadshot as well. So yeah, for me, it's a 5-star film easily. Bruce Perky, your rating on Deadshot?
I'm going to also go 5-star, and I'll just say it has a fantastic ending as well. And that's a great sign of a movie like this. It starts great, it ends great, and that's something that's not easy to do a lot of times with movies. And
Bruce, the ending reminds me of a very popular movie that we shall not name, correct?
Yeah.
Again, for the 4th time, Deadshot in theaters, on digital, and on demand, August 18th. I mean, honestly, for $6.99 on standard definition or $7.99 for an HD rental, I think this is just worth a rental. So if you're going to be staying home this weekend, it's going to be in theaters, but a lot of you will be able to actually check it out on digital and on demand on Friday. We're 5 stars from all of us. Would love to hear what you guys think of Deadshot. And I hope Eric's omen isn't correct, because this is one of these things where this should be marketed more. This is such an excellent movie, right, Eric? This is one of those movies that I think people will need to look for. Am I correct on this as far as Deadshot?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's kind of like a To Catch a Killer. Mm-hmm. I actually, shoot, I should have just said that right off the bat. It's kind of like one of those, like, this is really good. I hope a lot of people see it. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens, but it deserves to be seen because it's really good.
Speaking of deserves to be seen, our second feature is an IFC Films and Shudder combo. It's called Rebirth. It is directed and I believe also written by Laura Moss. I'll check it to see if it's written by Laura Moss as well. It stars. Yes. Okay, thank you. Eric.
Written by Laura Moss and Brendan J. O'Brien.
Thank you, Eric. So, and it stars Marin Ireland and Judy Reyes. First of all, they're both wonderful actors. Love their work. And Rebirth centers on a woman named Rose. She's a pathologist at a hospital who is not very, I don't know, guys, would you consider her on the spectrum, or she's introverted? I don't know what the call is on this, but she's a pathologist who's antisocial, socially awkward, or maybe not. Maybe she's just very candid and gets straight to the point. She's not she's not the most social person in the world, but she's very focused on her job. Thing is, she has a very big obsession, and this is not a spoiler because I'm reading from the plot line. She has an obsession with the quote reanimation of the dead. And that opportunity for the reanimation of dead comes forth when a young girl, 6-year-old girl named Lila, dies. And that's played by AJ Lister. AJ Lister plays Lila. She dies from, I believe, bacterial meningitis. And what happens is Rose takes Lila into her domicile, into her apartment, to bring her back to life. And she's going to try her best. Problem is, there's a wrench in the proceedings, and that is Lila's mother, played by Judy Reyes. Judy plays, what is her name? Sally? Yeah, Judy plays Sally, and Sally is a nurse at the hospital, by the way, that Rose works in. So Sally is initially PO'd regarding people are telling her that they can't find Lila. Her corpse can't be found in the hospital. So she's looking around. Eventually, she finds out that Rose has her daughter. That's all. It is all in the trailer, and the rest of the movie deals with how they are trying to bring that daughter, Sally's daughter, back to life. That is rebirth. A lot of the movie is set within the apartment of Rose, and Bruce was talking about the visual schematic of what was of Deadshot. This movie is really, a lot of it is very set in not pitch blackness, but it feels like it has like a really interesting color scheme where everything is stamped down, not too sunny. This movie isn't too sunny, and it's a very interesting score as well. It's a very interesting film, Rebirth. It looks like a horror thriller, but it doesn't really become a horror thriller type of movie. I don't know if you guys agree on this. Now let's start with Bruce. Oh wait, you look like you have some thoughts, but anyways, I'll get to you, Eric. Bruce, your thoughts on Rebirth? I thought it was a very interesting film, great performances. Is that enough to actually keep this above water?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting movie as well. I did not see the trailer, so I didn't know where it was going. And before we kind of had the discovery of what was going on with, you talk about the reanimation, and I guess you say it's some version of sort of a Frankenstein kind of idea here, some version of that, I guess. Before I knew that was happening, I had a different idea what was happening, and it seemed like a little more maybe like a serial killer. I wasn't sure what was going on. Either way, I was intrigued by it, but I had to kind of recalibrate my brain. So I guess knowing that going in probably does help a little bit with people's expectations. A couple of things that really struck me that I thought were pretty great. First of all, I don't think there's any CGI in this, and there's some very, very good effects. And the effects aren't really over the top. They're more like medical effects, I guess, like surgical kind of effects. And they're very, very well done. And also the kind of thing you get in this kind of movie is you have to have the science, right? I have to have the science of what are they doing? How are they reanimating things? And sure, it's a little bit hazy on how it exactly works, but it all's very grounded. Like it doesn't have giant flashing lightning bolts or anything. It's done in a way that kind of makes sense and is actually, I don't know if I'd say disturbing, but it's a little bit disgusting and interesting and unnerving, I guess I would say. The thing I was really struck by, though, was the character of Rose and how she's played. It's as the pathologist and as the person who's doing these experiments, and we kind of find the depths to which she'll go for these experiments and what she'll do to make these things happen. They really capture kind of that almost like a sociopath person that has found a role in life that is acceptable for their sociopathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so she is the kind of person, and there's a great scene early on where, and we won't say why this happens exactly, but there's a scene early on where a guy's hitting her on her in a bar, and she's like, whatever. She's very stern, very not a smiley kind of person. And she just looks at him and she's like, brushing him off. And then she says, And then she turns and says, would you like me to go masturbate you in the bathroom? And he's like, okay. And then the way she does it and the way it happens is so mechanical, and to the point that it ends with her giving him an unknown blood test and he doesn't know what's going to happen. That's kind of her methodology throughout this movie. She's just like, I need to get from point A to point B. Okay. Is that an ethical thing? I don't care. I need to get to point B. And when she gets to point B, she kind of looks at it and goes like, how are we going to do this? So how is this working out? Oh, this is a human being? I don't care if it's a human being. How is this working? Is this working okay? So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And then you combine that with the unending love of a mother who just wants to keep her daughter. It's a pretty great dynamic for a simple movie like this. So
yeah, and it's a mother who's a nurse. She's overworked. She's busy.
Yeah.
And there are times, and she just feels guilt and neglect over her daughter's death because Yeah, it's one of it's a very interesting interplay to see these women work together to try to keep this reanimated corpse alive, or this being alive, or whatever it turns out to be, and then you see their arc throughout the journey of that story. Very interesting stuff. Eric Holmes, what do you think?
So last week we covered Aporia, about time traveler, woman wanting to go back in time and save her husband, and then all the problems that come with that. This has a lot of similar themes to it. It's hey, cool, we can prevent death. Isn't that great? And it's like, well, what do you have to do to make that happen? And then therein lies the conflict. This was also really good. Love Judy Reyes and Martin Island.
Marin Island, yeah.
Yeah, I got shoot, I can't remember her name. I got vibes from, got in trouble for being nominated for an Oscar.
Riseborough.
Riseborough. Yeah, I got Andrea Rise, like heavy Andrea Riseborough vibes from her. I didn't see her as a sociopath though. I saw her as someone that's been working on this thing for so long, and she knows it's important, but then she can't just do it. She has to balance it with her job. I think in her job, she didn't get much sleep anyway. And so her downtime when she should be sleeping, she's working on this thing. And I just think she's worn out. And then when all the stuff in the movie happens, once Judy Reyes comes into the picture, she just gets even more tired and more angry at everything, just because, she's just wore out. But I do love the theme of death is part of life. And sometimes as hard as it is, you just got to let it go. Because if you're given this magic potion to bring something back to life, there's always a trade-off for it. And both in this and Aporia, the characters, their love for their fallen ones, or in Rose's case, just wanting to prevent death in general. Yeah, it's not the way to go. Sometimes you just got to let nature take its course and do the thing. And as much as it sucks to say, as much as it hurts, that's probably the way to go. And plus, who wants to live forever? Because you're going to experience the heat death of the universe, and then it gets really boring after that. No one wants that.
Yeah, I was also really, I don't know what the budget was for this, but it's shot in enclosed spaces, right? And it's still very interestingly shot. Didn't really. I felt like the world was open, even though a lot of it was claustrophobic. So there was a lot of things to explore. I thought, as a feature directing debut for Laura Moss, I thought that just high marks all around. We're not going to talk about the ending, but I thought the ending was very moving and very surprising. I don't know. I was surprised by the ending, and I really liked where the characters went. So it's memorable stuff all around. Final thoughts before we get to ratings, Bruce or Eric? Any final kind of thingamabobs?
I will 1,000% agree with you on the ending, and especially the last shot. Also, before the stuff that happens before that, like the characters in this just go in a complete downward spiral, especially Sully's character, Judy Reyes' character, like just kind of, okay, we'll do this thing, seems harmless enough. And as they do more and more, she starts moving her morals to the side to save her daughter. And it's, that ending was really hard to watch. And then her performance of, well, I'm saying too much, but ending's really good.
Ending's really good.
Really, really good.
We also have to mention sorry, Eric, about that. We also have to mention on the plot synopsis, it is a reimagination of Mary Shelley's classic horror novel, Frankenstein, which I'm sure you're a fan of. Eric Holmes.
Yeah, I didn't see that as like a remake, but just kind of a reanimation. Yeah. Like it's very, very loose.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
also
like elements.
The speaking of that, Angry Black Girl and Her Monster.
Yes.
This would make a great double feature with this, because they're wildly different movies, but they all deal with kind of the same. So triple feature, Angry Black Girl and Their Monster, Birth, Rebirth, and Aporia. Just do a triple feature and you get like the whole cross section of that whole moral tale. It
might be a little heavy though. You might want to just
put Angry Black Girl and Her Monster in the middle. So start with Birth, Rebirth, Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, kind of bring you down again. Then watch Aporia, and then finish it off with Batman and Robin to just completely get your mind out of all of that.
Gremlins or something.
There you go.
Well, very cool. So let's get to ratings for this wonderful movie, Birth, Rebirth. So let's start off with you, Bruce Perky, on.
I'm going to go 4.5 on this one. It's very, very good, though. Very good.
Yeah, I agree with Bruce Perky. I'm giving it 4.5 stars for Rebirth. Eric Holmes. Can I guess your rating? Can I guess your rating right now?
Sure.
5 stars from Eric Holmes.
Yeah, it's banger season, baby.
Banger season from Eric Holmes. Actually, Eric Holmes, when he said it's banger season in a month and a half ago, I was a little bit, I don't think so, Eric. I think you're wrong on that, but
maybe it's just a banger year.
Maybe it's just a banger year. There's some really great stuff. I don't know.
T-shirts coming soon on finderfilmpodcast.com. It's banger season.
I love that. That's a great idea. It's banger season. Finderfilmpodcast.com. Check us out for our merch. Now let's go to our recommendations. We have a whole bunch of recommendations. That's a great thing with having 2 features, guys. Hey, Bruce and Eric, here's the thing. I said we're going to have less features every week. We're getting into the inside baseball. Instead of covering 5 or 6 featured movies, that would give us like maybe a 20-minute podcast and we're out of here. But what does Bruce and Eric do? They add 5 or 6 movies for our recommendation. I'm going to actually yield the floor to Bruce Perky. What do you want to talk about next for recommendations for CinemAddicts?
I guess we'll save the box at the end because you got to play the sounder before the box movie. So I'll go quick. First of, a couple weeks ago, I watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Fincher version. I think it's 2009 or 11. I forget. I wrote it down here somewhere. Okay. 2011. Yes. Daniel Craig, Rooney Mara, directed by David Fincher, Christopher Plummer, Stellan Skarsgård, a whole bunch of people. And it's a rewatch for me, but I hadn't seen it since the time. And I know most people consider it kind of a pale imitation of the original, which it may be still lesser than the original with Noomi Rapace, I believe. But I think this kind of also gets unfairly kind of lost in Fincher's pantheon. And I think if you're looking at his crime movies, thinking of Seven and Zodiac, I think this is a great triple feature if you want to kind of stay in that kind of zone. And I think this movie it ages really, really, really well. And it's very, very faithful to the book as well. And the reason I watched it with my son is my oldest son is working his way through the books. And he read the book and he said, let's check it out. And I had bought a Blu-ray of it. It's an excellent movie. So if you haven't watched it, or you've only watched the original and you've never watched the Fincher version, or if you watched it like I did back when it came out, you might give it a retry. It holds up extremely well.
Did your son see both versions?
He hasn't yet, but he's gonna go watch the other one as well. So
what do you think? Which version do you think he'll prefer?
I don't know. He's pretty open. He's open to it being, international features. He doesn't not against that. So I don't know. It just kind of depends on your mood. I kind of like the steely grayness of the Fincher version, which is kind of his thing, I think Daniel Craig would be maybe the weak link between the 2 versions, but I love Noomi Rapace in this. She's not Noomi Rapace, but
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara, thank you. No too many odd names in my brain at the same time. So yes, that's an excellent movie. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out again.
Okay, cool. So what is this? Was it like a 4-star kind of thing for you?
I think it's 4.5 for me.
4.5 for you?
It's really, really stellar. It's really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out, and I remember really enjoying it. But then I thought to myself, what's the point? Why did he remake this when the original was so good and it was so close in years? Maybe I should rewatch it, and maybe I will find out what the point is. I think the point is Fincher's an amazing director, so it looks good. I mean, did you find it? So, I mean, it still stands on its own, right, Bruce? As far as
I think there is somewhat of a what is the point kind of thing to it. But I think if you forget that part of it and just say like, how does this stand as a movie, and how does it stand as a Fincher movie? I think it holds up really, really well. So
one of the weird things about the original was when I saw the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I was like, wow, this director really likes David Fincher. Because the original already kind of looked like a David Fincher movie. And then when I heard David Fincher was remaking it, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Eric, did you do a rewatch? Did you rewatch it?
No, but I've seen it a couple times. When I saw this in theater, I remember the opening titles were freaking awesome. And then movie for me never really lived up to the opening titles. I think I've seen the movie probably 4 or 5 times. I've seen the opening titles upwards of like 30 times. Like I'll once in a while, I'll just go on YouTube and watch that opening title sequence because it's one of the best.
Wait, so then you really enjoyed the original, and then you didn't think the remake was a little bit disappointing?
No, I like both of them. But when I saw the original, it felt like a David Fincher movie already. Right. So when I heard that David Fincher was doing the remake, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, someone already did the David Fincher version originally. and now David Fincher. It just seemed it was a weird kind of confluence of things.
Yeah. Do you agree with Bruce's rating? Is it as high as far as the rating goes for 4.5 for you?
I'd probably go lower, probably 4 stars, but that's a 4-star David Fincher movie, which is like a 6.9 star anyone else.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So that's 4 stars for Eric Holmes for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then on the rewatch, Bruce Perky is giving it 4.5 stars. I'm assuming his son probably gave it 4.5 stars as well. If he was in the ratings game, we're going to be talking about sons pretty soon towards the end of this episode. Also, Eric went to the theaters over the weekend. For what did you see? Did you see what Dracula vampires on a ship? What is it?
Yes,
what is this movie?
Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Okay.
It's basically based off of chapter 7 of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm not sure how many pages it is. The chapter is very short, and they just kind of it's short and it's not very detailed. Apparently, Andre Overdahl decided, hey, we're just going to take this little slice of Dracula and make a full, kind of expand it out and make a full movie of it. Let's see what happened on the Demeter. And
Wait, Eric, are you a Overdahl fan? I'm looking at his IMDb. It seems like he's like troll. I'm looking at like Troll Hunter, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and Immortal. I don't know about Square.
I thought I saw Autopsy of Jane Doe, but I think I'm confusing that with the the Exorcism of Emily Rose. Is that the one where she's like possessed and then it becomes a courtroom drama?
No, Autopsy of Jane Doe is I can't remember his name now.
So the one
Speed Racer and the dude from Succession, I believe, and they're cutting up a corpse, and they're finding out mysteries as they cut up the corpse. It's very
okay. I didn't see that, but I get that, and so I must be thinking of the Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Okay,
because I get the titles mixed up. But either way, no, this one I've been seeing people online. It's not doing very well at the box office. People are not liking it, but I did. I love the hell out of this movie. I love the concept of, hey, we're going to take because the book Dracula is basically just written in notes back and forth and logs and journals and so on and so forth. I like the idea of just like taking little bits of it, little interesting bits, and kind of expanding it into a full movie. Like they try to do the Dark Universe or whatever. We're going to take Dracula and Frankenstein and Invisible Man and mash them up and make a Marvel universe. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula is already there. It kind of works as an anthology anyway. So just taking like little bits and then just kind of expanding them out is a pretty great idea. And I thought this was really good.
Hey, and it stars Corey Hawkins from Survive, which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And Anderson's buddy, the Smolchin.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah. Plus vampires.
Eric, where is the divide? You said some people or a lot of people did not enjoy The Last Voyage of, how would you say, Demeter or Demeter?
Demeter. I'm going by the audiobook because the guy reading the audiobooks is kid, but a lot of people say Demeter. I did up until I heard the audiobook, so I'm like, I guess that's how you say it.
So what did you see that other people did not, as far as that divide between the reactions? You're positive and they're negative.
I think, well, for one, I'm already in the bag for vampire movies. And much like I am for like courtroom dramas, it's like someone could watch like Trial of Chicago 7. This movie sucks. I'm like, that's catnip for me. Same deal with vampires. And this one had kind of like the old gothic, kind of reminded me of like maybe like a Guillermo del Toro type movie. Kind of had that kind of flavor to it, the gothic flavor. And it wasn't, when it gets towards the end is like when Dracula really starts going nuts, and by the way, his creature design, he's like just this giant bat looking thing, looks awesome. But towards the end is when it starts getting really bloody and like really violent. But everything leading up to it is just kind of like, maybe it went slow for people, I don't know, but I got like a sense of dread because I know, and like I'm already familiar with the story. So everyone that goes on that boat, I'm like, yep, you're dead. You're dead. You're dead. You're all dead. Every last one of you. You got a little kid. Oh, maybe the kid was. And
Eric, that is a several 100-year spoiler you're throwing down right now.
Yeah. But well, actually not exactly, because so there are a couple changes to the ending that is different than the book. One of the biggest endings is in the book. You got the captain and he says like first met, like no one really has names and they just kind of disappear and no one really knows why. This one, they're like, well, first mate disappeared. let's create a scene to show what Dracula may have done to him that they, left out of the book. So there's a lot of that. Maybe people are not happy about it, but I mean, this is an adaptation. And I think if you're going to do an adaptation, especially if I don't know how many pages this chapter is, maybe 5, 10, something like that. That's not enough for a movie, but there's so much in the book, there's so much that it kind of alludes to and doesn't explicitly say. So it was cool that they were able to kind of pull ideas and scenes and create scenes out of that.
Well, let's get Bruce Perky to the theaters this weekend to go see The Last Voyage of the Demeter, because a couple things. Stars, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I apologize. Stars Aisling Franciosi, and she was the lead in The Nightingale. Bruce, she was the lead in The Nightingale. Love that movie. Did you see The Nightingale, Eric Holmes? You would love The Nightingale.
Don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so.
It's a great movie.
You would know if you saw it. You would remember.
I got old man brains, though. I forgot that I interviewed someone.
That's by Kent, the Babadook director.
Yeah,
but it's not like the Babadook. Okay. I don't think you like the Babadook.
No, I didn't really like the Babadook. I should probably revisit that, because sometimes there's movies where it's I don't like it, but everyone else does, and then you go back and revisit it, and all right, maybe I was in a bad mood or something. Who knows?
Yeah, but just kind of like how me and Bruce were championing about a couple years ago. We were saying how great Don't Look Up was, got nominated for Best Picture.
Exactly, and I finally came around. I finally came around on it.
Okay, so that was the joke, folks. Eric Holmes is a huge champion of that film. Speaking of champions, it stars this movie also stars Woody Norman. I'm looking at IMDb. He plays Toby. Woody Norman is a young kid. You saw him recently, Bruce, in that masterpiece called Cobweb. So that if that doesn't get you out to the theaters, then no. Okay.
That's the same
comments from Bruce
Cobweb?
on Cobweb. Yeah, you know what? Bruce is doing this radio silence on Cobweb whenever I throw Cobweb on it.
Okay,
he just goes silent. This is not good. This is not good.
So if you're watching this on YouTube,
okay,
go down in the comments. Or if you're on CinemAddicts Facebook page, this is a serious question. I'm not giving you shit. Crap, this family show.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I love Last Voyage of the Demeter, and people hate it. But I hated Cobweb, and people love it. And there's a disconnect between me and the general consensus with these type of movies. I don't quite know what it is, but if you can explain it to me, please do. I'm happy to be wrong, but I can't help it. I love Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Thank you, Eric Holmes. What is your rating on The Last Voyage, or the Last Voyage of the Demeter? What is your
I'm giving it 4 stars now. This could go up. Okay. I'm wondering if in 15 years, if because this movie's getting kind of panned right now. I wonder if in 15 years people will rediscover and go, why did people hate that? That movie was rad, but maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe give The Last Voyage of the Demeter a shot this weekend in theaters. I don't know if Bruce Perky's going to go, but listeners, maybe you should, if you're into Bram Stoker's Dracula, that little chapter, you might enjoy it. And Eric gave it 4 stars. And speaking of disconnect, I'm glad you were being very democratic on Cobweb, Eric Holmes. Bruce Perky, final thoughts before we go into your other pick or recommendation this week. What's the big disconnect from Cobweb being some people are not liking the movie and some people like me are saying it's a Citizen Kane of horror films? Any comments on that? Or
well, it is the Citizen Kane of horror films.
Wow, no, don't apply me that soundbite.
Equally good.
Equally good. Okay, now you're off the deep end, Bruce Perky. Okay, now what? It's your turn, Bruce. What you saw an interesting movie on Prime. It's on Prime Video. Yeah. I do not want to see this. It got mixed reviews. Should I see it?
I finally got around to watching Bones and All. That's now free on Prime. I actually literally just watched it today. Oh my gosh, if I have to look at his name, I never say it. Luca
Guadagnino.
Thank you.
Guadagnino. Okay.
Well, yes. Bones and All stars Taylor Russell as Marin and Timothee Chalamet as Lee and Mark Rylance as Sully. Yeah, this is kind of a take on the vampire. I don't know if you ever saw this, Eric. It's kind of a version of vampirism, and instead of vampirism, the people in this eat other people. So it's kind of like cannibalism, but kind of like vampirism. They don't have to have it to survive, but they kind of are driven to do it every so often. It just kind of follows the main character of Marin, and she's living with her father, and you can tell they just kind of live a vagabond lifestyle because every so often she must act out and they have to quickly move away. So they live in very temporary kind of housings and stuff. So in the very beginning, you see what happens is she gets invited to a friend's like a slumber party. And she's talking to her friend in the slumber party, and you think they're almost going to have a romantic moment. And they're kind of laying there next to each other, and they're talking. And she reaches over, and you think she's going to kiss the other girl. And then instead, she grabs her finger and basically almost gnaws it off in front of the other friends at the slumber party. And of course, all hell breaks loose. She runs away and has to move out of town with her dad. Very quickly, her father basically leaves her on her own because he's can't live the lifestyle anymore. And she is really on her own in the world with this, I guess you would call, it's not condition necessarily, but with this state of being. And the rest of the movie kind of becomes this kind of road trip where she's trying to find her mother, trying to kind of find out how to live a life like this. And then she ends up meeting up with the Timothee Chalamet character along the way. And she also meets up with the Mark Rylance character along the way. And Mark Rylance is a superbly creepy, hammy role, but hammy in great ways. And he's just absolutely creepy villain in this movie. The drawbacks of this movie for some people will be it also has very great practical effects, and it's disgustingly graphic at certain points. It could be even bloodier, but the way it's done is very visceral, and I think for a lot of people that would be a huge turnoff. And also it has a very, very languid pace. So if you're not into this kind of road movie romance with peaks of cannibalism, I guess this might not be for a lot of people. I ended up quite enjoying it. It's only probably a 4-star movie for me. It doesn't quite hit the whole heights, and it probably is a little bit more meandering than it needs to be. I could have probably cut another 20 minutes out of it and made it just perfect, but it had a lot going for it. So I think for people who are a little adventurous and who like that kind of style, and especially people who like kind of vampire-like sort of stories, they might find some really interesting stuff here.
Bruce, do you have an idea of why the director wanted to do this movie? Because, you know, obviously to work once again with Timothée Chalamet from Call Me by Your Name, but what do you think attracted him to this project? Just from what you watched, did you see that? No?
Well, it's got a lot of stuff going on in here. I mean, it's really getting a lot into the morality and like how I think you could probably find a lot of parallels in other aspects of life if you want to. You could find the analogs for regular life, like when, maybe it's an analog for meat eating. I don't know what it is exactly. It doesn't
addiction,
really
maybe, or something.
Maybe addiction, but it has a lot to do with like, hey, they have to kill things, but how do they do it in a way that they can morally kind of live with? And how do they live in a world where this is what they are and they're driven to do this? So I think there's a lot there interesting morally going on. And I think he's playing with that and also playing with just kind of Americana and kind of living on the edges of society. A lot of stuff there if you want to look for it. But as far as just a road trip romance, thrillery, horror-y kind of movie, it works on that level too, I think. So.
Okay, so that's a good thing. That's 4 stars from Bruce Perky, 4 Bones and All, directed again by Luca Eric Holmes. Can you pronounce the last name? You sounded really good pronouncing his last name. Guadagnino, very good. Guadagnino. And it's starring Timothée Chalamet, Taylor Russell, Mark Rylance, currently, as of this recording, streaming for free. Hopefully, if you have Prime Video, it's streaming on Prime Video, so that's a good thing. And, Eric talked about vampirism and vampires being catnip for him. I think this deserves a rewind from Eric Holmes next week. Yes, yeah. Eric Holmes.
Well, first of all, I believe it's not Timothée Chalamet, it's Timothée Chalamet. Chalamet. This is, I'm actually glad you mentioned this one because this is one I meant to get back to, and I keep forgetting about it. So now that's on Prime for free, I'll go check it out this week.
And since we're comparing it to things, I think in tone and feel, I think this is most closely related to something like Near Dark.
Nice.
Okay.
Like kind of this, because Near Dark was a whole idea of this kind of found family of vampires and how they had to kind of just live on the edge of society, and it was dangerous and weird. And that one's much more action packed and probably a better movie overall, but it kind of gets into those vibes.
Okay, so that is very cool. Now, before we go to I think we have a box movie coming up right now. Right? Oh wait, no, we have 2 more things.
Elephant.
Brew. Yes. Is that how you pronounce it, or is it just straight up elephant or elephant?
I say elephant.
It's elephant. Elephant.
So this is Elephant. It's 1989. It's a short suggested by whom? Eric Holmes.
Yeah.
Or
go
Bruce.
ahead, Eric.
It was one of the directors of Deadshot.
Okay, cool. So that is it. That is and Bruce, you decided to actually watch that extra short. Was it a long short? Is it worth watching?
Yeah, and I think Eric watched it too. I was going to put it in the box, and I thought, what the heck? Let's just watch this movie. It sounds interesting and weird. It's directed by Alan Clark. Joseph Bridges went on a whole thing about all the great Alan Clark movies. I know Alan Clark from This Is Britain, but he's also made a ton of other interesting movies. And a lot of his movies kind of go under the radar because they appeared as television movies in the BBC. So people don't consider them, a lot of people, you hear that, you don't consider them movies, but they really are movies. And these are pretty experimental and pretty daring in a lot of ways. This one's very experimental. It's about 37 minutes, if I remember correctly. And it's supposed to basically be kind of an experimental take on the morality of the Troubles, which the Troubles is being basically the war between Britain and Ireland, especially during the 70s and early 80s, the bombings and all the killings, and lots of stuff. What this movie does is very interesting and very probably hard for people to get into, and it's off-putting, is that it is experimental in this and this was also probably inspiring to Gus Van Sant's Elephant, and the reason why immediately is the way it's shot. So the very first thing you see in this movie is you see a person. You're kind of following them from behind. You're walking with them, a single shot. They're going into some kind of a building. You don't know where they're going. They're walking around. They're looking indoors. It's like it looks like it's a pool and maybe a athletic facility. And they finally find a person in a room. They don't say anything. They pull out a gun. They shoot the person dead. They walk away. And then you linger on the dead person for much longer than you think you would. You linger on them for, 30 seconds instead of just a few seconds. And then it cuts to the next scene. And the next scene is two different people encountering each other. And every scene is following somebody or several people into a location, an unknown location. You don't know who the people are. You don't know if they're Irish. You don't know if they're British. You don't know what their affiliation is. You don't know. All you know is that people are going to encounter somebody else. And either the person you're following is going to kill somebody or the person you're following is going to be killed. And then you're going to leave the scene and you're going to go to the next one. It's striking. It's disturbing, and eventually it becomes almost tedious because it's just the same thing. And I think the fact that it becomes tedious is part of the point too, because the fact is that this became kind of like our Vietnam. For them, on the news every night was another killing, another bombing, another shooting, and it became just fodder for the news as opposed to actual humanity and endless violence. This is a pretty interesting thing that I had never even heard of until these directors talked about it. And I'd be curious to see how Eric took this.
Yeah, this was really good. It's weird because this would be like one of those, like, you watch the first scene, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much the entire thing. It's just that over and over and over again. Not that exact same scene, but that exact same setup just over and over again. And this would be one of those things that, like, watch the first scene, you'll get it. I don't think you will, because as Bruce said, watching it over and over and almost getting bored with it you don't get that without, watching the whole thing. And it's weird that this was only like just over a half hour long. It felt longer. That's not an indictment of the movie. That's kind of,
it's kind of the point, right? It's the point.
The only thing you don't know what's coming, also, like Bruce, Bruce has nailed it. So just listen to him again instead of me. But the only thing you don't know what's coming up is who's going to get shot. And then the last one they had, they somehow even like did a twist on that one compared to the previous ones. You got the two people. Well, I probably shouldn't say what that is. It's only a half hour. I don't want to spoil it. But this is, what did I say? Because I watched it like just before we started. What did I say? Like, well, that was a thing. And that's about the best I can put it. It's very great recommendation for sure. It's striking until it gets boring. And then once it gets boring, it's like, oh my God, am I a monster?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So that is Elephant, short from 1989. Recommended by one of the Guard brothers. I don't know specifically which Guard brother recommended it. That's on me. Now, Eric Holmes, what is your rating on Elephant?
5. They got done in a half hour. It usually takes people a full movie or sometimes a whole TV series to get across.
Bruce Perky, what is your rating on Elephant?
Yeah, I'll go 5-2 with the caveat that this is experimental filmmaking, and listen to us. This isn't going to be for everybody at all, but if it sounds interesting and unique to you, which it did even when they talked about it, and especially if you liked Gus Van Sant's Elephant, go watch this because it's very fascinating as far as a historical kind of a inspirational piece as well. So it's good. It's good stuff.
Okay, so that's that. elephant is not in the box because Bruce and Eric actually did the review. The other Guard brother actually recommended a movie. Bruce Perky, do you remember what movie that other Guard brother recommended?
I wrote it down and I forget what it was.
Eric Holmes, what was it? What was the other Guard brother recommendation?
I don't remember. I got old man brains.
Okay, the movie.
You're going to say it and I'll be like, yep, there
the
it is.
movie that the other Guard brother recommended is called Walkabout. I know.
There you go.
Bruce, I know we did that a couple of years ago, but I think the statute of limitations, I wouldn't mind rewatching Walkabout if you can actually put it on the box as well.
I love Walkabout.
Evil Greg did a little troll on Eric Holmes a couple of days ago. Did you see what I did, Eric Holmes?
No.
Oh, you didn't see the thread.
I did. I think the common thread here is my brain doesn't hold information for very long.
So what happened was, I'm not going to get into this. We're going to end the show pretty soon. But anyways, because we have to get to the actual box. But Evil Greg, what I did was Eric Holmes during the interview with the Guard brothers, one of the Guard brothers said he recommends Walkabout because it's a movie that really changed his life when he was 11. And then Eric Holmes was saying, yeah, I think Bruce Perky is the big Rogue fan. And then what I did, Eric, since you didn't see the thread, was I went off on you on our message for about, I don't know, Bruce, you read the whole Ulysses Homer-esque kind of response. Yeah. You hear the exasperation on Bruce's voice. He just basically, I was mentioning my own personal connection to just how much I love Nick Rogue. That was for your eyes, Eric Holmes. That was I guess you missed it. That was me being a troll. But anyways, we're all Rogue fans. I'm going to say that right now. Anyways, Eric.
Alan Clark, real quick. I'm looking at his IMDb.
Yes.
Billy the Kid and the Green Bay's Vampire made that in 1985. So this is a vampire episode. Enjoy.
Enjoy the vampire. Well, let's see. Speaking of bloodsuckers, Matilda the Musical, is that a box movie? Bruce Perky?
It is. That's the box.
That's in the box.
Remember, my kid made me watch that one.
Yes, your kid made you watch Matilda the Musical, and now unfortunately we're gonna have to. Peter Beta yet again is going to make us listen to his contraptions of music. He and his brethren over at the Middle Class Film Class. Eric Holmes, what does Peter Beta do every week? What does he do?
We've had a pretty rough episode, so Pete, you just softly bring in that beat.
Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
Thank you, Eric Holmes. Most importantly, thank you, Peter Beta, for that wonderful drop. Speaking of drops, Matilda the Musical, blood-sucking, vampiric, mesmeric. What is it? Is it just ick? Is it just ick? Matilda the Musical. Take it.
Well, this is my son likes to try to torment me by putting movies in the box. He's given me Bobbleheads, the movie. I believe that was one of them that he put in there. He gave me Matilda the Musical.
Can I get your son's phone number? Because I'm going to make him put Cobweb in there. Just for
on Netflix, directed by Matthew Warchus. I don't know how to say it exactly. Matilda's played by Alicia Weir. Agatha Trunchbull, which is like the evil stepmother that runs the school there, is played by Emma Thompson in Unrecognizable. If you've not seen Emma Thompson in Matilda the Musical, just look it up and see what she looks like in that. It's quite something. There's Lashana Lynch playing Miss Honey, and Andrea Riseborough from last year also in this movie as one of Matilda's parents. So Andrea was on fire last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This is a pretty awesome movie, actually. Yeah, I disappointed my son by enjoying the hell out of this movie. I don't know the Matilda story, so for me, I got the extra bonus of watching Matilda. So I'd never seen Matilda. I didn't know the story at all, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think this kind of falls into that kind of middle ground, somewhere between a Paddington type of movie, this kind of very bright musical, imaginative set pieces, but then also with the cruel edge of Roald Dahl, which of course is a Roald Dahl story. So you've got these things like, the evil head of the school, she doesn't like the one kid and he's in trouble because he ate a piece of her chocolate cake. So she forces him to eat the entire chocolate cake in front of everybody. And while he does, they sing a song because his name's Bruce. There's a whole song about Bruce eating the chocolate cake, which was pretty great. And at one point, he even spells his name Brooce, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty fantastic." Because at work, I spell my name that way with two eyeballs. Two googly eyes on my name badge. Anyway, I had a ton of fun with this movie. I think if you are even slightly musical oriented and you like the Roald Dahl aesthetic, especially kind of the original Willy Wonka, that kind of thing, where it's like you've got the brightness, you've got the activity, you got the dancing, you've got the cruelty. It's kind of got all those things you'd want in those movies, and I thought it was pretty fantastic.
And it's weird, you never saw the Danny DeVito directed film from years back.
I have not.
That'll be interesting once again, if we ever have time to for you to see Matilda, because that's a movie when it came out. I even did the press junket, for that. I'm so old. Okay, so if you think you're old, Eric, I'm very old. I did that press junket for Matilda. Love that movie. Came out, it bombed. But over the years, Matilda has become really popular, not just for the stage stuff, but just for the movie itself. And now that's probably why I haven't seen Matilda the Musical. But since it stars Andrea Riseborough, I might do that. So
really, Emma Thompson is what you come for in this movie. I'm telling you, man. Okay,
that's very cool. And it's directed by Matthew Warchus, and this is sort of a name drop memory that I looked at his IMDb. One of his movies, his featured directing debut is a 1999 film called Simpatico. Simpatico, when it came out in '99, stars Sharon Stone. I believe it stars Jeff Bridges, possibly. I'm going to look it up right now. Yeah, I think it's one of these movies that people have never seen. Very few people have seen it. And yeah, Jeff Bridges is in it. Nick Nolte's in Simpatico, and Sharon Stone. I remember interviewing Sharon Stone. I think it was for either, I don't know, might be The Mighty or one other film, but she was talking about how brilliant Matthew Warchus is. And that was 25, 26 years ago, before the release of Simpatico. So yeah, to your point, Bruce, you love the movie. So obviously Matthew Warchus must be a very interesting filmmaker. Can't wait to see Matilda the Musical. I don't know about you, Eric Holmes. You watch a lot of movies, but does it seem like a musical? I don't think that might be in your purview. What do you think, Eric?
Is there a vampire in it? Just say yes.
Yeah, sure.
Then I'll watch it.
Okay, so we are done with our box movie.
There's a vampire and it's on trial.
Exactly. Oh, wait, before you do that, you know who has to take a sample first, right? Going back to the movies we recovered. So Matilda the Musical, what is your rating on it, Bruce Perky?
Considering I was thinking I was going to hate this movie, I'll give it 4 stars for just surprising me and being a ton of fun, and for annoying my kid that I liked it.
Okay, very, very good. So yeah, your son's very annoyed about that. Well, I'm glad for that recommendation for your son. I'm gonna definitely watch that movie for next week. So we're gonna close our show. Before we close the show, we have Coming Soon, meaning what's also playing on this Friday and then playing for next week. This is a segment spearheaded by Eric Holmes. I'm going to submarine this segment very quickly though, because opening on Friday are 2 films. Eric, you're gonna take that other film. It's called The Moon, but I'm going to take this movie called The Monkey King. I'm looking at what Eric Holmes wrote, and there's a reason why I'm taking it, Eric Holmes.
All right.
So it's, quote, a monkey born from Heavenly Stone, acquires supernatural powers and must battle the armies of gods and demons to find his place in the heavens. The Monkey King is an animated film opening this Friday, August 18th on Netflix. The reason why I'm submarining this for you, Eric Holmes, helping you out with the segment, is I have an early access on Netflix. I'm going to watch it, review it on YouTube. Saved you and Bruce the time, because we have to. This is one of these things, we're saving each other time because all of us don't have to watch 500 movies a week. I'm going to tell you guys how The Monkey King is later this week. I'll put it up on the YouTube channel as well for my review of The Monkey King. What else is opening on Friday, Eric Holmes?
Another thing on Friday in limited release is from Wellgo USA. It's called The Moon. Watch the trailer. It looked like an action version of The Martian, but on the moon. Looks a little silly, but silly's usually good. And Wellgo, they got like sometimes they get like really legit good movies, and then sometimes they just get like this bonkers ass like crazy movies. Yeah. This looks like it's going to be one of the bonkers ones, but those are usually entertaining to watch as well. The following week on August 25th, I won't go too much in the first 3. We got The Dive in limited release, Golda, I'm not sure the release, and Our Father the Devil. We'll be covering those next week. But other things coming out is Fremont in limited release, quirky black and white movie about an Afghan woman who makes fortune cookies and looking for love.
That sounds very cool. Fremont Limited. Wow.
It's just called Fremont. It's limited release.
Oh, Fremont Limited.
Yeah.
Fremont Limited Theaters.
Yeah.
So just called Fremont.
Yeah. This is called Fremont.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, actually.
Yeah, I forgot to put a dash there. The
Okay.
next one we got is The Hill. Looks like inspiring baseball movie starring Dennis Quaid. Maybe a sappy Field of Dreams type movie if you're kind of into those things. I can't remember the last time like one of those came out, but
And Dennis Quaid rarely does those family dramas, right?
no, I'm just talking about like
kidding.
I'm just talking about like the sappy baseball movie because like I can't remember the last time one of those came out, but it seemed like something I'd be in the mood for, especially after all this vampire drudgery.
Oh my God, Fremont looks so interesting. Bruce, I said we're only going to do 2 films a week. I think I might have to bump it up to 7 next week.
Judging by the trailer, I think Bruce would hate it, but it also might be a good movie to watch.
Why would Bruce hate? Why would Bruce hate that? Why would he hate that Fremont trailer? It looks like a movie about humanity and the human condition. Bruce, are you?
I guess you answered your question. There you go.
We also got Whitebird, set in Nazi-occupied France. A young Jewish girl is hidden away by a boy and his family after her life is abruptly changed. Suddenly, the boy she and her classmates once shunned become her savior and best friend. We also have Bottoms in limited release. 2 unpopular queer girls start a fight club to have sex before their high school graduation. And finally, we have Retribution, also in limited release, starring Liam Neeson. Follows a successful Wall Street executive. I suck at Liam Neeson. Follows a successful Wall Street executive who discovers on his way to work that a bomb has been planted in his car by an unknown assailant. He is forced to follow a series of orders throughout the day, or else the bomb will be detonated. This reminds me a lot of, I think it was Erie,
Pennsylvania,
Indiana?
Erie, Indiana. Okay.
There was a guy that had like a neck bomb that he was, he had to like rob banks. Not the same story, but it seems like kind of the same sort of setup as that. But it's Liam Neeson, so I'm sure that he'll shoot a bunch of people and have a bunch of quick cut action scenes. Well, we'll see how it goes. But that's what's coming out August 25th.
I'm a guilty pleasure. I'll watch any Liam Neeson film that's just one of these action-driven Liam Neeson films. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, you never know, because with him, it's like you get like, certain ones like Taken that turn out to be really good, and then you get other ones like the one I forgot that we saw that was like kind of forgettable, which is why I can't remember it. Even more than my normal forgetful brain.
How about you, Bruce? Are you a guilty pleasure for Liam Neeson movies, or are there
No, not at all. And wasn't the movie called something like that, like he forgotten or something? Didn't he forget things? Wasn't that the point of the movie?
Yeah, right. Actually, it might be. that might be the. And by the way, that wasn't me being an ass. I actually forgot about it, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, and we also want to mention, like you said, Bottoms, which is in select theaters August 25th. I just wanted to share this. I received an email regarding some of the people promoting Bottoms on MGM, I guess, in theaters August 25th. Here's the plug line, the sort of get people in theaters. Girls, gays, and theys, attention! Grab your besties and buy your tickets for Bottoms now. Love the font on Bottoms. So who knows? It might be an interesting music by Charlie XCX. Is that how you say the name? And Leo Burnberg. Yeah, sounds like. And one of the actresses is one of the girls from the main lead from The Bear, that Hulu series, The Bear. So I don't know if you guys have seen The Bear on Hulu. Great series. So yeah, so a lot of interesting films coming out next week, this Friday. Vampires. We covered. You reanimated children. What else did we cover, Bruce? A little recap for this episode. All different things. I wasn't that evil. Cannibals,
dragon tattoos, elephants.
Talking about Bruce.
Right. So that's it. And before we go, Bruce is going to shake something.
Oh yes, I do have to shake something. I forgot myself.
It's in the box.
Thank you guys.
Bruce was doing Greg's job this week by forgetting about the box.
my own bit to myself.
Props to Bruce Perky for rescheduling his week for us. Thank you so much. I've
been meaning to watch this movie ever since. Peter Beta has been raving over this movie, and I think Eric might have actually watched it, but I haven't. And that is The Kid Detective.
Oh, The Kid
Never got around to watching The Kid Detective.
So Eric Holmes has not seen it. That's because he has a quizzical look right now. Because yes, Eric, you have not seen The Kid Detective. Okay. And that's a movie that I don't know. I have a feeling that Bruce Perky is really going to enjoy it. I don't know about Eric. Do you like mystery movies, Eric Holmes?
I do.
Oh, okay. I was wrong.
Actually writing a murder mystery right now. So
that's personal stuff that you don't want to share. We only share the opening. Oh, I love that.
You had your chance earlier in the show.
How far are you onto your mystery novel?
It's a screenplay. It's only 50 pages. No, I have not seen The Kid Detective.
Only 50 pages in? That's a lot, Eric. You're halfway done. You're almost halfway done with it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You keeping that secret away from me and Bruce and everyone here over at Find Your Film Movie Mainland Cinematics? What's going on here?
Well, what's going to happen is I'll finish the script and then I'll write another one. And then I'll finish that and then I'll write another one. And no one's allowed to read any. Actually, if you want to read any of them, just let me know. You can read it and go, yeah, this sucks. This is good. This is where you need improvement. Whatever. Okay. And, also, by the way, and I've done this for a couple of people, including Joe Russo, who we had on the show, because
Joe Russo.
He gave me his. I don't know if I mentioned this. Maybe I did, but he let me read the original script for
Hard Kill.
Yeah, it's called Open Source,
and so
loved it. Yeah, it was really good, and not at all like Hard Kill. Very similar to the new Mission Impossible movie. So I actually hit him up on messaged him on Twitter when Mission Impossible came on. The new Mission Impossible came on. It was like, hey, have you seen the new Mission Impossible? He's like, not yet. I'm like, you and Chris Lamont were pretty ahead of the curve on that one. He watched it, came back and was like, son of a bitch. Yes.
That is so funny. Okay, so yeah, if you want to, I don't know what, send some scripts to Eric Holmes, maybe to go to hamslime@gmail.com. I don't know.
I love reading them. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Say, hey, can you read this? And I probably will.
And then I don't know, maybe, who knows, maybe you can actually find Bruce Perky on Letterboxd. I think your profile, Bruce, is just Bruce Perky. You can find me, right? Bruce Perky on, just find Bruce Perky on Letterboxd. Find me on Letterboxd. I don't know if I can't even spell my last name, but just it's Greg Srizavosty. And then find Eric. Eric Holmes does not. He likes to take the tide and I don't know, not run. I don't know. He just says a little bit off center with the Letterboxd profile. His Letterboxd profile. What is your Letterboxd? It's not Eric Holmes. I was looking for Eric Holmes. What is your?
It's Ham Slime.
Ham Slime. So Ham
and
Slime.
There's 3 movies currently on it.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, Bruce is the only one out of our trio who's actually diligent with Letterboxd. So if actually out of us 3, probably don't follow me or Eric, go to Bruce Perky, give him a follow. Give Bruce Perky an email too if you want some more movies in the box per your recommendations. Give him some movie recommendations to check it out. If he gets it, who knows? And put your name there. Maybe he'll also mention who actually did the box recommend. BrucePerky@gmail.com. Before we go, Eric Holmes, anything else you want to say? Plug everything? Shout out curtains,
I think
podcast.
I think we covered it. We're gonna have to watch that Bones and All this week.
Bones and All, right?
Yeah. And yeah, check out Birth, Rebirth, Deadshot.
Yeah.
A double feature, Birth, Rebirth with Aporia from last week. Banger season is not over because I have checked out one of the movies we'll be covering next week. So I'll just leave you with that little tease.
And I'm going to leave you guys with this. Just go to findyourfilms.com for entertainment coverage. I've been saying this for the last couple of years. I've been doing work on the website. I'm trying to make it better, trying to make it good. But a lot of our stuff from CinemAddicts and the occasional Find Your Film stuff will be on our website, findyourfilms.com. Trying to pretty it up, and that's where you're going to get our portal for just our a lot of our podcast stuff, and then of course our CinemAddicts Facebook group. We have some really great members, daily stuff, and shout out to Cobweb. I'm going to say that before Bruce Perky. Final thoughts.
I have a final recommendation and a riddle for Greg. The final recommendation is, we mentioned it a little briefly before, but I would like to reiterate, if you haven't seen it, the Andre Overdahl movie, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, is excellent, and it has Brian Cox and Emil Hirsch. So that's something you might want to go check it out. It's really, really good. Like kind of a, I won't say anything about it.
Did you cover it?
I don't think I ever did. I think it was before we were doing too much on here. And my final riddle to Greg is, one of the movies that we're not watching next week is called The White Bird. Do you know how you get a white bird?
Oh, I do. That's a personal reference, and we will see you next week here.
No, Greg, you paint it.
Oh.
Thank you, people. We're out.
Good.
That was another movie that Bruce turned me on to. I didn't like it at first, but Bruce brought me that and Tenet. Bruce really liked Tenet, and I finally came around on it.
Oh boy, Eric Holmes trolling once again. We'll see you guys here next week on CinemAddicts. Take care and thanks for listening. Bruce.